Let's talk about Gantt charts in Microsoft projects. Gantt charts are probably one of the most important things in Microsoft projects. I'm going to walk you through who created Gantt chart, what are the different type of Gantt chart views, how to customize your Gantt chart, and also what's the difference between the tracking Gantt and the actual Gantt chart. Okay, so Gantt charts. First thing, a little bit of history about Gantt charts. It was created by a gentleman named Henry Gantt in the early 1900s. He was a mechanical engineer and a consultant. And the goal of the Gantt chart was to have a visual representation of your schedule timeline that shows the start and finish along with some relationships to the tasks. So if you're not in the Gantt chart view, on the top ribbon up here, go to view, and then on the left hand side under task view, there's options. Also, one thing to note, so under view, when we go here to the left, there's only two options, the Gantt chart view and the tracking Gantt, which we're going to get into tracking Gantt also. I'm going to explain that. But if you're wondering why you don't see all the views, because you're under view, if you go to task and then access view from here, click down, there's more of the built-in views. So there's a few different ways to go to it. Let's just talk about Gantt chart view. In my opinion, this is the standard view for any and every project you do. It gives a very straightforward approach to where your project's going, some details about it, whatever parameters you want in these columns, and then the Gantt chart here. So this column here is adjustable. It'll move back and forth to show more of your Gantt chart. Keep in mind when you're printing, so let's say that this Gantt chart, well, first off, if you don't see this, it can lock, kind of snap really far to the side. Just hover over it where it pulls. So in this example, we're showing some task details, and I just want to show you that in printing, you might need to move this over. So here we're showing task, duration, start, finish, predecessor, resource name, percent complete. So if I want to print this, I'm going to pull this over a little bit. I'm just hitting on my keyboard, Control P. And we'll have to, we have another video that goes through printing. I think that's crucial. But for this example, I just want to show you how the Gantt chart can be affected during printing. All I did was make our page a little bit bigger. So one thing to focus on here, remember we did task, duration, start, finish, predecessor, resource name, percent complete, and then your Gantt chart begins. Let's say you just had the Gantt chart pulled way over here for some reason, and then you went to print it, just did Control P. See how it's only showing the task name, duration, and it's hiding those other columns? That's because, I just hit escape. It's because this column is pulled over a little too far. So anytime you're missing columns and the Gantt chart is taking up more, just know that you need to kind of condense these, maybe pull these in. If you don't want to show your Gantt chart when you're printing it, we're just going to do Control Print. See, that's the Gantt chart that we just talked about. You can pull this Gantt chart all the way over and hide it. Control P. Now your Gantt chart is not on there. Also, another thing about printing, let's pull this over. You can really work with the time scale. So Control Print. Okay, so it's a little bit of back and forth when you're getting a nice view for printing. And this video is not all about printing, but we can showcase some of that. This is the date ranges on the Gantt chart that you're showing to print. So there's a few options. Print entire project. I do that a lot, and I just kind of pinpoint my dates. Print specific dates or pages. So I do the entire project, and then this project is running from January 2025 to July of 2025. See how that's the total time scale? Let's say I only want to do maybe a month. So you can change this here. Let's go to the end of February. And then that will tighten up your Gantt chart, but you still need to do some work on the actual other screen, not the print screen, to fine tune this. So let's get into a little bit more details to help you understand that. Okay, on your Gantt chart, there's a few ways you can customize this. So on the first one, let's look at, think of it as two different pieces that you can access. This top row here, and then this chart. So hover over this top row and right click, and there's an option for time scale. What this does is gives you an option to represent the scaling in different tiers. So top tier here for this example is the we're not utilizing it, and we're not utilizing it because we only have two, because there's three. So we're utilizing the middle tier here, which is in the unit of weeks. So the week of January 19th, the week of January 26th. There's some specifics you can put in here to size them. And then the bottom tier is in days, and you format that however you want. This is pretty typical Sunday, Monday, but you can really make this as custom as you want. So let's say, for an example, we wanted to add another tier that has maybe quarter or year. So let's go here. So timescale options, 2 tiers, middle and bottom. Let's go here and do 3 tiers, top, middle, and bottom. And now we're on the top tier. Looks like our top tier and our middle tier matches in weeks. Let's go and make this quarters. Quarters might be a little too large for this. So maybe months. Yeah, months. You might you see this, so hit OK. So then we have 3 tiers. You can see this whole tier is February. This is the weeks in February, and then here's the days within the weeks. So like I said, you can customize that however you want. Let's right click it again and go to zoom. That's pretty clear that this compresses this. So right now we've got kind of a custom zoom going on right here. Let's just show you what 1 week will do. Just hit 1 week. See how it really zooms in? So it zooms in to to represent a week time scale here. So let's go back. That's really, right click here, zoom. We'll go back to a 3-month look that kind of zooms it out. Instead of doing that, if you want, right over here on the bottom is a zoom out key. So it kind of calculates that for you. So you're compressing this, and now you're zooming it in right here. Okay, so that's zoom. So now we talked about zoom. Change working times. That's something a little different. There's a way you can actually access that here. That's when you make specific calendars for tasks, which we have another video explaining that. But that's also under the project tab, change working times. Microsoft Project has a lot of ways to access the same command in different places, and that's one of them. So let's continue talking about the top bar, right click it. This is pretty neat. I like this. Show hide bar styles. This is very useful, in my opinion, critical tasks. So click it. What it does is find your critical path and highlights them in red. And you can turn that off just by simply right clicking, show hide, turn it off. I'm just going to right click again, show hide bars. This is some other stuff in here, and it gives an explanation over here on the right of what it all means. Don't use them a lot. This is under baseline. We're going to talk about baseline a little bit more. And then there's bar styles. So bar styles it looks overwhelming, but really you can customize this in so many ways. For instance, milestone is typically this diamond, and what it means is if you click in here, if you kind of have to click in it sometimes to actually see. See, I clicked in it and I can move the cursor with the arrow. It's a milestone. It's active, not group by. So these are all specific, but what you can do is you can go down here and change anything about it. Let's say you want your milestones to be a different shape. You want it to, instead of being gray, you want them green. So you can change that there. I'm going to leave it defaulted. But like I said, you can change this. You can change. So let's give a task. Now, this is actually pretty useful. So when you have a task right now, see, we click text. Every task has text to the right that says the resource name. You can change that. Let's say that you want the start date. So it'll put the start date. So I'll just show you real quick what that does. Let's hit OK. So now to the right of all these tasks, it's the start date. You want to change that back, right click, probably got to show more, bar styles, and you can change that back. It's under text to resource. I think resource is pretty useful. Where was it? Resource name. But I mean, there's that you could put on top of it, inside it, whatever you like. Extremely customizable with this. You could even put text to the right or top of a milestone if you wanted to. So right now it's the task finish, which makes sense. Key takeaway is you can do a lot with this. So let's go back to this kind of gray color and hit OK. All right, so we've got this. Let's continue to look through here. We've looked at all of these. Now click inside here, you're gonna right click, and there's grid lines. I typically don't change this. It's up to you. It's all customizable. There's a ton of parameters that can give you almost like a checkerboard effect to show where these tasks are lining out. It gets a bit maybe messy. Not messy. It could get busy on here, but feel free to explore in this. I don't, like I said, really change that too much. So right click. We already did bar styles. That's just another way to access it. We're right clicking again. Non-working time. That just gives you a the same time scale on the far side is non-working times. So what non-working times is, it's just grays out boxes of when they're not working. Right here you can't see it because our time scale is so wide. I'm gonna hit cancel, but if I zoom in, you can see these are your non-working times, these gray bars. So that's how you modify that. That was under non-working times. Progress lines. These are interesting. Click display right here. Currently, this example is almost in the past from the current date. So the progress lines are going to look really messy. And what this is saying, we haven't really baselined it, and it's really far behind because I haven't really progressed this yet. So it's going to look a bit messy, but I'll hit OK and show you what it looks like. It shows where you are from this green line, and this green line is today's date. Today is March 2nd. So let's say I'm going to progress this along. Let's just move this entire project information. See, our current date is this, our start date is this. Let's just move this to April 1st. Click OK. And then our progress lines don't really show up because this is our current date. So let's move it back again to start. Let's say it started yesterday. So it shows in relation to where you are on the current date. It really indicates later tasks, but I'm not a huge fan of it, so we're going to hide it. That's under progress lines. I'm not going to display it. Okay. Let's finish a few of these up. We talked about progress lines, show hide. This is similar to before. We already went through that. And show timeline, that's this up here. So you can hide it. This is just another place to find it. I'm unselecting it. You can get it again by going through here and clicking here. Or if you go to view timeline, it's up here. So you can hide it there. You can edit this as well. You can change this where it's not like a timeline view. You can change it to several different views on here. If you have a large monitor, maybe it's nice to show you the entire timeline, but I don't always use it. It's pretty large, so we're just going to hide it for now. Show timeline. Okay, so that's a good overview of this screen. The last one I want to show you, I use it. I find it pretty interesting. So go back over here to view, drop down the tracking Gantt. This is nice. So what this is going to show you your time scale. I'm sorry, it's going to show your timeline in relationship to actual time, like your baseline versus your actual. We have another video that talks about baselining, but once the project's baseline is here, so look here. So you see these columns, it will show 2, but right now it's just showing the 1. You won't see 2 unless it's baselined. So you see the 1, this is progressing along. We're just going to baseline, set the baseline, project, set baseline, set the baseline here, just today, and hit OK. See how there's a gray box below here? Now we have 2. What we will do, we're going to progress this along. So let's say this first task started at the time that it was planned and finished at the same time, right? 100% complete. So see how that completes and puts 100%. Now let's make things change. So let's say this one started at the same time, but it went on to be, instead of 2 days, it was 5 days. So now you can see that This was our baseline, what was in gray, and what's red was where we went because it went longer. So let's progress this along. So you can see that. And you'll really see, so let's say this task here was supposed to start in the 4th and something happened. It didn't start a week later. So now you can really see how we're getting, the whole project is shifting off the baseline. So I really like this tracking Gantt when you're in a project and seeing where you're deviating from the plan. I mean, this is say more of a pessimistic view. It could be the other direction. Things could improve, and you could see that. So that's tracking Gantt. There you go, and go back to the Gantt chart view just here, and those are some basic overview of the Gantt chart. That should get you started and navigating how to make a really straightforward, nice project. There you have it. That's everything you should know about Gantt charts and Microsoft projects. Like and follow if you want to learn more about Gantt charts, and then also message us if you have any questions and need help on your Gantt charts.